They forgot to prove the fingerprint was his. My easiest win as a lawyer came from a case that, at first glance, looked bad for my client. He was accused of committing a burglary that had taken place about 2 or 3 years before we even went to trial. The prosecution had one piece of evidence tying him to the crime, a single fingerprint found on the victim's apartment window. That fingerprint had sat unconnected for years until the police started using a computerized fingerprint system. While my client was being processed for a totally unrelated issue, they ran his prints and got a match. Just like that, he was suddenly a burglary suspect. But here's the thing, my client insisted he had nothing to do with that burglary. He did admit that, around the time the crime occurred, he was dating someone who lived in that same apartment complex, just a few doors down from the victim. The victim testified she didn't know him and never let anyone in while she was at work. Okay, fine. But their entire case rested on that one fingerprint. The prosecution brought in a fingerprint expert who walked through how they collected the print and how it matched a fingerprint card from my client. Here's where it fell apart. The expert never testified that the fingerprint card actually belonged to my client. He compared the crime scene print to a card, but never established that the card came from my client. There was no chain of custody, no testimony from the person who took the prints, just assumptions. When the prosecution finished, the judge asked if I wanted to cross-examine. I said, "No, Your Honor." I moved to dismiss. The judge looked over the record, turned to the prosecutor, and said something along the lines of, "You failed to prove that this fingerprint card is even linked to the defendant. Case dismissed." And that was that. One motion, 0 witnesses, 0 defense.